Okay, finally alive. Finally alive. Finally alive. Finally alive. Right, you've got finally a life. A life that you can live. Or something like this. But what I feel like is that uncertainty always creeps back in. And that especially if you need what you may call a spiritual life, that feeling spiritually alive and buzzing is really strange. I mean, because the physical becomes so much less important. It's about the spiritual connection you have to things. And that is what I would say is what this video is trying to express. That you feel full in terms of spirit. Because you have gotten rid of all the things that sucked you dry, and then started feeding the things that you feel matter more, which are the deeds that turn you into a real human being, and the relationships that you actually always wanted to nourish, but could never find the time to do. And now you've started taking the time to nourish the things that you find important in your life, including certain habits, and, like I said, relationships with real, actual people. Which is why, to me, in a sense, everything that comes through my phone is only, 5% real. If you call me, in terms of spirit, you may say that's your name, but who are you really? So the only thing that I actually believe in is what I can see right in front of my face. So I don't know who you are. Right. I don't know who you are. Right. But I'm just choosing to do what I'm doing. And that's just the one thing I have to say, because I have already asked so many people if they wanted to join me, but somehow it never worked out, just in many ways. And that I started testing people if they are real. Okay, what does it mean real? Are they just projections? Are they some kind of magic creations? What does it mean real? Well, there are people who simply tell the truth, and then there seem to be people who simply act like they want to be this or that, and they take, but they never give back. And that's what I have found. I don't think life will ever really make sense, but you can make an effort to certainly make it more interesting. And as long as I keep following my feeling and simply do what I feel like doing, then I think life can be quite interesting. Because as a spirit, I need to also challenge myself. Sorry, I just woke up. I also need to challenge myself. I need to test myself to know who I am. If I don't test myself, how should I know who I am? Right? So finally alive, yeah, I'm testing myself. And if you don't test yourself, then what do you know about yourself? Yeah, scratch that. I mean, when you know what you know at the moment, and then you can look at whatever is going on. I mean, finally alive, yeah. But there are different worlds or something. And there's the physical and there's the spiritual. And then there's this and then there's that. So you have to take care, learn to take care of both of your sides. So what's the point of boasting if that's just a waste of energy? Right. You can just keep doing it. Because when you've done it, then people will feel it without you having to say a thing or having to rub it in. Because in spirit, we all know. So why do you have to say it again that you have done something? I mean, if you did it, then that should stand for itself. But if you're saying it, then I have to doubt that you actually did it. So I only believe you if I have seen you do this. So, yeah. Sometimes I test people just as I have tested myself, right? Sometimes I say things and then I realize I didn't do it. But then I will do it next time or another time, right? I say I want to do it, but I wasn't sure about the actual date. Sometimes I say things and then things happen, or I simply don't feel like it anymore. But in the moment I said it, I felt like it. And then I simply stop clinging to, that's exactly when I have to do it. And then I simply, sometimes I wait a day and then I do it. Because sometimes it just would be a little bit too much. And now I also feel like I have a bit of taking care of myself to do. So I cannot simply go hiking and do all these crazy things every day. Sometimes you just have to work towards doing it again. Right? So you take a month time off of doing certain things, even off of having sex. I mean, you can simply take a month off. And then you look for an opportunity where you both feel like now you can do it again. And there's probably going to be times where you can do it more often. I mean, you're talking about lots of different things here. Because a lot of people, they think, the only thing that ever made me feel alive is having sex. And how sad is that? I mean, you should look for other things. I mean, go hiking barefoot. If that's not gonna make, yeah, but it's so hard. I want the soft alive. Yeah, then you have no idea what actually this video is talking about. Yeah, I just had to add all of this. It just had to go into the introduction. Because what I clearly don't want to do is think about adequately what I'm going to say here. Right? I just want to release myself into the creation. And so sometimes you have to create a hike before you can enjoy hiking it. Right? Sometimes you have to investigate the area and then stitch together a hike that you find worth hiking. And then you can share it with other people. Or you can simply look forward to doing it again at some point. And I'm working on a number of hikes. So in the end, I'm maybe going to have 4 to 5 30-kilometer hikes. and then I can choose between them, right? Which one to challenge myself with. And they're probably all gonna lead to some kind of a water or around water, because I love water. And you know, I'm not sure, but I used to feel like I'd really live at the ocean at some point. But now I feel like, why would I do that? I mean, when you live at the ocean, I mean, this is just a dead end. What can you do in the ocean? You can swim, okay? If I have a lake, I can walk around the lake, and then I can hike to the lake, and then walk around it. So, you know, I cannot say. Maybe I'll see the ocean again in my life, and maybe I will never see it again. But whatever this is, it is an opportunity to figure out, you know, what I can do if I stay where I am, in terms of general, right, location. If I just stay where I am, or where I feel like I'm being drawn, and then I just stay there and start making experiences and allow myself to actually embrace the area, get to know the area, map it out, get to know the city, get to know the surroundings, yeah, maybe get to know some of the people, but really focus on also yourself, because this is supposed to be about yourself. You want to grow, right? You want to do this, you want to build something, everyone else is just playing around, or otherwise they would be looking for ways to do this. You simply have to do this so you have a sturdy foundation of experiences that you can say then, hey, I've done that, you know, I did it, I've done it, I can do it, something like this. So yeah, finally alive, right? Finally alive, that's the title of the video. No, good job. Oh my god, I just missed it. The opportunity to do this a bit more relaxed. I mean, I always set myself these goals which are really far. I mean, this is a really hot day. And I'm finally starting to see again the potential of just taking your time. Because if I'm rushing, then I'm all the time stuffing myself with food, and I really don't feel like doing that. I mean, I've shown you my stuff. I'm really happy with it. It deflects energy like nothing I have ever had. Plus I put in the work. I mean, you do realize that spirituality is just a way for shamans to step into the light again and say, hi, you know, we're still here. I mean, Inquisition tried to do us in, and so did, right, all these mass genocide things, but they never managed, right? They tried to act like. So why did you think the darkness crept into Germany? So, right, I'm not gonna go too deep into this because it's too easy to label it as conspiracy theory, but it's just some food for thought. And now Germany has been struggling through the darkness, and I'm gonna make myself a coffee, which may or may not be a good choice. Right, that's always, yeah. I'm just gonna try to be a little bit comfortable. I'm happy I found this space of shade. And now I can simply see. I have basically no food. Why is he screaming like this? Well, because he's afraid nobody can hear him. I mean, that's a relatively good point, right?
Okay. I thought I had no more gas. I also thought I would never sit like this again. Oh, coffee with cardamom from an Arabian shop. You see, I do all of this witchcraft stuff, and it's nice, it's super cool, but it's also heavy. And I think we live in times where we also need to let loose a little. Right, maybe I just fell into some kind of a trap, right? But, you know, that's all I know. I know that I simply have my own way of doing things. Condensed milk. But I forgot the cup. But it's okay, you know why? Because I have this. Okay, finally alive, because this is also work. And I'm gonna do this now so I can do other things later. Okay. I'm just gonna be a bit like this now. This one should stay. Up here. So I have just been thinking a lot about the Lord of the Rings, how I see myself in relation to Gandalf. Well, how do I see myself in relation to Gandalf? I don't know. I just wield a lot of energy. That's all I can say. And it goes without saying. I don't think anyone can say any longer that I'm just talking, because for that I have done too much. You know, it's hard to say if this is going to be enough gas. So maybe I have to get another cartridge. Because I'm not a great fan of just... Yeah. I mean, I have thrown many things away. But there are people and things that I hold dearly. Okay, so with this powder, you cannot put as much into this because it seems to condense. It's really fine. Normally it's for cooking. I'm really curious if this is going to work, by the way. In terms of, do I have enough gas left? I mean, half-cooked coffee, yeah, you could kind of do something with it. But yeah. Okay. I haven't had really the feeling, I mean, I have been building up a lot of energy for the last couple of days to get to be able to do this kind of a hike. I mean, and I just couldn't do anything anymore, so I was running out of juice. And this brings us back to Carlos Castaneda's teachings, or Don Juan Matus' teachings. I think that should be enough. Which were, you know, walking on trails of power, which I'm clearly doing. If everything goes well, then I will find myself on a, well, it's not a natural lake, but a lake nonetheless. And I'll be going for a swim. You know, as the times demand. I have brought swimming pants. And I may even do this a shot where I record this now and record it later, but I doubt it, because for the moment I think I prefer to do it like this, to just do one big recording now and then continue. Okay, finally alive. Okay, wow. I mean, I slept. I thought I would leave at 4 in the morning, but I was clinging to thinking, right, I should be working. I do this to save gas. I thought I was still trying to render videos, but I just didn't manage. And so I ended up resisting the urge to leave. And then finally at around 10, I decided to turn off the laptop, which was a very good choice. And then to pack my stuff and start hiking. And then I felt like I could have been caught in the park, but my trail continues. Because just the park just doesn't do it anymore. I have an important hike on the 6th of July. And until then I have to be ready. I have to know I can do this on my own. Because if you do it with somebody else, then you have to know that you can do it. So I'm saying I'm preparing myself to take more responsibility, to simply say to the people, hey, right, I mean, I have been kind of trained in shamanism, right? I have been trained in shamanism. Or more safely, my road singled me out as somebody who is good at it. And for so many moons I felt almost dead. Like there was almost no life in me anymore. And what Finally Alive clearly talks about are these moments in your life where you suddenly say, wow, you know, in the beginning it was the doobie, you know, smoking the weed. That was it in the beginning. And now it's maybe the occasional coffee where you realize you managed, you jumped off your apartment and you crashed here. And so you crash here now, but you know the road continues, and that is as liberating as it is scary, because you never know how you will feel along the way. And that's a fact. Because you could feel very good, it could be an easy hike, it could be one of the hardest ones you ever did, but I'm learning to keep channeling energy, and for that this stuff is a beautiful tool, but that also takes a lot of patience. I mean, to go out with this thing into the open, into the wilderness, so to speak, and to show, because we all know, right? We all know, we all are beings of spirit. And as we are all beings of spirit, we all kind of work our own magic. I mean, let's look at the Lord of the Rings. Dwarves have their own kind of spells. Who else? Orcs work their kind of spells. Right? Wizards simply work stronger spells, but then elves have their kind of spells. So what am I then? Well, I'm a craftsman. I do some kind of voodoo magic stuff. I know about darkness. I know about shadow work. I know how to transform things and bring them into light. Right, so I'm highly creative. So what am I? And what was Tolkien? Was he everyone? I mean, his main character, in a sense, what the focus was on, was clearly the hobbits. So I feel like Tolkien, because what he did with this book, he clearly worked some kind of magic. So I think we all have all kinds of parts in ourselves. And sometimes you simply have to focus on the one that's just the nicest. And then protect it. So as I was talking about in an earlier creation, Reg, you have to protect yourself against gossip. Okay? Wait. I mean, I have this thing since 2012 maybe. This was for my first hike. Still have the same thing. Okay? Cheerio! Woo! Yay! Woo, woo, woo! You know, this is gonna shoot me at least a certain way. And this is the first time since a very long time that I have done this again. Okay, I'm gonna drink this with cream because that's gonna be my meal today. I suppose I could do another coffee in between. This is quite sweet, by the way. Every time I do this, I have this image from Mad Max Fury Road, where this guy, the one of the sons of Immortan Joe, he comes and says he chased the milk up. Very good. And I always think, does milk turn you into a cow? I mean, in a sense, you can say it is very smart. I mean, you've got water, you've got wives. And then you give, because you've got no animals, and then you get them to give milk. And I feel like, I mean, you have to survive. But is it really, I mean, I don't know, it's just a bit weird, right? So such a civilization simply has no future. Because the energy becomes stale. This is like people who only sit at home. You have to sometimes simply merge into life, merge into nature. I mean, I wouldn't get the same amount of energy or the same kind of healing if I just stick around in cities, which is what people often don't get. I have been trying people also. I have been trying to tell people, wow, I was looking forward to this. I just didn't know I would do it this early. I just saw no more way out. It was too heavy. The stuff people give me. You see, you have to be able to be very flexible, to switch. Right, so I was trying this thing of sitting at home and working on the laptop, which is also kind of like spell working, and there was just no juice left. So I turned it off, packed my stuff and left. And it's important to be flexible. So also in terms of marriages, I mean, you shouldn't really plan this. I mean, I think you could plan it sometimes. You could say with your wife, right, let's take time for each other on the next full moon, for instance, or maybe a new moon. It's hard to say. And then you really take your time with each other. But in the meantime, you do not look at other women sexually, and she doesn't look at other men in such a longing way. You go about your business, you focus on yourself, you focus on your feeling also towards each other, you try to connect in a spiritual way. And other people may come and want this, but what they don't get is how hard you've worked to find it. And that, yeah, maybe you are a part of each other, right? Call it a twin flame, call it you're each other's mirrors, call it, I mean, I sometimes feel like there's kind of like, you can be, in a spiritual sense, you can feel like brother and sister, but in a worldly sense, you've been born by different parents. I mean, imagine you've got like a twin, but you can have sex. Because in terms of family relations, you've been born into different families. It's kind of nice, right? I mean, that's the kind of Cersei and... I mean, everyone gets kind of horny. I mean, if you've got a sister like this... I mean, everyone gets kind of horny. It's just that if you do that and people would figure out, oh wow, I mean, they've got the same parents, you know, bam, shame on you. You should never do that. But imagine you feel like she's a bit like a sister. In a spiritual sense, like you're kind of alike. Maybe it's like the fox and the hound, but in a world where they could be friends. So it's like sisters in another, or brother and sister in another dimension that actually can have sex because they're in different bodies. It's kind of nice, right? I don't know. I like this. I like it kinky also. I like it kinky. But not disturbing. I don't know. I can just tell you, I like this manga, Sundome. It's a bit weird. So what am I talking about? I'm just making conversations, man. I mean, I'm in nature. I'm filming myself. I feel really empty and depleted. I feel empty and depleted. And at the moment I'm simply escaping into the camera to feel like everything's okay. Plus to just keep on working on my path of liberation, right? Freeing myself of being so dependent, trying to become in certain ways independent, and then trying to free some land and populate it with honest and hardworking people that wish to be involved in something that actually lasts, right? Which we happen to call a commune, But for that, everyone has to figure out what they can do best and then contribute it to the commune. So you can keep looking for one, but if there's none, you can actually start. If you see your way through, you can try to build one. But for that, you need to be connected in spirit with certain people that you find along the way. But then you have to do your bit of the work. And my bit of the work is sharing myself with, in that sense, the entire world, which is of course not true, because not everyone even wants to use the internet. I mean, that's just for people like you maybe, who wish to do something else in their lives. Well, you start sorting out your diet, you start hiking a bit. But even now, do you think this hike is easy? Even though I like the hike, I mean, it's a really nice hike. And there are passages that I really enjoy, but you know, I'm carrying the emotional weight of everyone that sits at home and thinks of me, which are quite some people. Because I have made quite some memorable appearances in a lot of people's lives. Because when you're down in the gutter, you know, I come and smile. It's like, hey, what's going on? You sad or something? You know, try going to the park. Well, what would you do there? You'd never get home. You know, I said that once to a guy who drank vodka on the street. I don't know, it was his kind of mojo. So he just kept on clinging. So it's condensed milk, but unsweetened, but it's still sweet. And it's my meal now. Right? It's gonna carry me at least a part of the way. And then I just have to suffer and struggle. But when I'm gonna get back home, I have a full fridge. So sometimes you just need to simply let yourself go into an experience. Okay, finally alive. I think I'm just gonna end this part of the video now. And then I'm gonna film something else later. I mean, this is just better than just sitting at home waiting. This is clearly so much better than just sitting at home waiting. To just keep on moving on, looking for strength, for stability, testing yourself. I mean, I have one piece of chocolate, dark, 95% cocoa chocolate. And then this condensed milk, water and a bit of tea. And then coffee. So you can go hiking and fast. It's just that if you do it in bare feet, it is certainly an extra challenge. But, I mean, what's there to complain about? In that sense, yes, I know what I'm doing. I don't think I can actually get burned. My skin is kind of used to all kinds of climates by now. So yeah. Okay, time to get back on the road, face the heat, look forward to a swim, and then slowly but surely move back. I mean, this is a 30-kilometer hike. I left at around 10 or something, 10:30 maybe. When am I gonna be back? Maybe at 10, depending on how much time I take or how much time I have. Well, I'm going to rest in between. I'm probably going to make short recordings in between, such as maybe No Slack No Line or Truth on Patrol, so that when I come back I have enough material to render. But yeah, I only have a 64 gigabyte SD card and roughly 2 hours that I can record. But I can at least take some time. And then at the lake I want to do a recording for meditation. So I think this video is just gonna get me when I'm there jumping into the water. And that's then part of my life, right? One more experience. I'm trying to, I don't know, work a weather spell because we need rain. Otherwise it's just gonna get dry again. I want to see if it works. I feel like I know my way around now. Because people, they sit around and all they think is, oh, I just want sun. But they don't get it. You want sunshine. And right, everything's drying out. I mean, you're creating deserts. You know, I know people that just sit around and they just try to get sunshine. Let's see if I can make rain, right? I have the feeling I can. Because we need it. Otherwise, this is gonna turn into a desert. And it was almost a desert. Okay. I'm just afraid. I think if I keep it in there, I can drink one more coffee later. I think it's gonna help me to get back. But it's gonna be a struggle nonetheless. This is a very cheap one. It's called the Crocs Lite. But if you're looking for something with a bit more stability, you should probably take one that's resting on the ground. I mean, I could do this myself actually. I could build this myself. I could build like a construct. Something to connect here. You know, I could do this, and maybe I will. You know, I like this better to just use what I have instead of always buying new stuff. Plus, I'll also have to see if... You see what I'm trying to teach you here? You know, it takes time. It takes time to build yourself a new life and to then live it. I mean, I have sacrificed the me that wants to hike for many years, and I have waited. Hey, I have waited patiently until I felt like now I can do it. Because if I would have hiked before, I wouldn't have had such a stable foundation. And the stable foundation you can now see in the internet. You know, the first maybe 800 videos or so. I never went further than maybe this area. So that I could go further is clearly a sign that I have, you know, built myself up from the ground. I was broken in that sense, right? I too had been harvested. But yeah, I mean, what's harvesting? I mean, your parents maybe needed energy to survive. Maybe you too were selfish, right? I mean, as a child, you have to do what you can. So, for now, I'm doing this. And I'm projecting myself as far as I can into the future. So that one day I can live in peace. And for that I have sacrificed what people would call being normal, which is sitting around and gossiping. You know, which is all kinds of things that I simply said I have no more interest in. I mean, that's a tough choice, because you choose to be lonely so you can be free. But you cannot be free of everyone. Why? Well, simple. You cannot be free of everyone because there's also people that keep you alive, and that then maybe your parents or whoever raised you. Okay, let's see where we're gonna get with this. Yeah, finally alive means, I mean, you actually feel like doing these things. You actually feel like recording yourself in quadruped motion. You actually feel like just going for a 30-kilometer stroll that you once may have called a hike, right? You actually get used to all these people climbing your back and you going hiking with their emotional selves. And then just trying to be kind of non-judgmental, right? I mean, people who look for stability may test you a couple of times, and they've got claws, my friend. So I just try to maintain my position. So just let me do my work, right? If you talk to me, I'm going to get straight to the point. Because if I want to live, then that's a personal choice. But if you're afraid to live because you cannot outgrow yourself, well then you're just part of the mob. And so Finally Alive talks about many things, but also simply do what you feel like doing and then tell people to do the same thing for themselves, whatever that is for them, right? So I'm doing what I feel like, and with that I'm telling you to do what you feel like, and then we can stop hacking nature to bits, focus on our own personal development, and simply stop gossiping and stop always looking for so-called friends. I mean, real friends need no convincing, right? You don't have to beg for friendship from a friend, but you have to do so from a, let's say, from an owner or somebody who treats people like slaves, right? So if you've got something to give, then give it in the way that you would like to give it. So I don't give you what you want by sitting around eating cake with you. No, I give you what you want by simply being around, right, in my own space, so you can create your own space right? And I sometimes simply give stability, I channel energy, and if there's something to be done, you know, I'm gonna do it. But first I had to do this, right? I first had to create all this content because this is looking after myself. This is looking, you know, trying to create a life for myself. I have helped lots of people before already, and now I'm helping people through the internet because that's the safest way to, right, help yourself to continue to live and to be able to keep giving. So it simply needs to be an honest exchange. I give something, if people like it because I really have something to give, right, then I will get money in some way. Because this is how this world is built. And then with the money you can invest into things, right? You can maintain however you want your lifestyle to be. And then you can keep on giving content. And then you look for land that you can buy, populate. But until then, you've done your homework. You're kind of getting into the builder mentality. So a commune needs a strong foundation. So you need to look for people. So finally alive means simply retreating from this city environment more and more and just starting to spread out into nature again. Right? Because I've got the mind, I can make up a plan because I can see how this could work. How you can have a commune and simply also produce and generate an income, right? Or simply sustain yourself. But ecotourism is always an option to a certain degree, like giving walks to people, but it has to be also a minimum. Never overload yourself because you think you need the money. You cannot just take everyone, because quality before quantity. Who comes should stay a while, help a little, and then probably not more than maybe 5 or 6 people. There has to be a stable center, right? The center needs to be stable. And that's healers and shamans and that kind of stuff, builders, strong people. Yeah, and then sometimes people come and then they go, and you know, I don't know how it's gonna be. If there's space and you show that you want it, I'm not gonna ask you to stay. You have to prove that you want this, right? And if you prove your worth and you can change for the better, and we see your development, you know, like slowly but surely. You don't ask somebody to marry you maybe the first time you see them. You have to get to know them a little bit at least during times like this where you are in charge. So what's keeping you, right? Finally alive. Next instance, taking a cold bath. A bath, right? Jumping into cold water. All right, what's privacy finally alive, right? I mean, you just hiked 15 kilometers, 4 hours to take a dip. I mean, if that isn't finally alive, I have been building up this moment the entire year. That is going to be the first time I'm going to swim this year. And I think it's awesome. And they're just talking about, you know, cheating. Cheating, which is the cheapest way of wiggling out of relationships. You're just weak. You're a weak fucker. That's why you cheated. Because you're a weak fucker. You're gonna be weak until a woman comes and says, I only want you.
Trommelfell ist nämlich das Gleichgewichtssinn, also gekoppelt ans Gleichgewichtssinn. Man kennt dann auch schon. Wenn du jetzt dabei mit deinem Segelboot unterwegs bist. Trommelfell, das heißt erst bei einer Tiefe von 3 Metern oder 4 Metern oder so. Ja, da sind wir jetzt hier noch weit von entfernt. Danke für den Nachschub. Aber mit der Einfachheit gesagt. Du liebst so Vereinfachungen, ne? mal Stand-Up-Paddling gemacht? Wirklich? Das wäre mega. Können wir das mal machen? Ja. Die sind nicht teuer. Aber man kann zu zweit auf einen. Einer sitzt, der andere paddelt, wa? Ja.
You know, if we're talking about signs, then feathers are generally a good sign. Wow, I mean, I never swam like this, like doing like a pirouette thing. I mean, sometimes you really wait for something. You really wait and you wait and you wait. And in the meantime, you keep living. So you can wait for someone, right? Instead of complaining that you didn't get sex. Well, in the meantime, you should build up the energy so that the woman comes by herself. But so many men cannot do that. Never occurred to them. But then also, sometimes it's the woman that's not strong enough. Sometimes it's the man. You know, I was so long be kept on a leash by all kinds of people, and then I slowly but surely released myself back into life. And then I was on the leash on psychedelics, but they were mostly given to me by other people as well, and they thought that's what I wanted. But what I wanted was friendship,
but they never had anything to give, so they just gave me psychedelics, so I would give them whatever came out of me until I stopped. And then for me, I said, you know, I'll choose a woman, and if I'll never see her again, that's that. And I've said that already many times, and that's okay, because yoga is a path, the path of suffering, right? And whatever suffering then means, to me it's better than to always choose and choose again, right? You want stability, so you have to stabilize yourself and then find a partner that either is as stable as you are or comes to lean onto you. But if you've got stability, be ready to share it, because a tree supports all other trees with its presence. And that's what we as humans should do, because we are communal beings, social beings in that sense. And we call it a social state, but it's not social, it's antisocial. So once you realize that there is a different world that is inhabited by very few people, it's like the heart space or something, and some people will never get into there, and then you can say, well, that may be the kingdom of heaven, right? There's yogic methods that get you there. Some people get there also through near-death experiences or through traveling with psychedelics into the underworld and then walking through hell until you get into some kind of a heaven. Well, parts of today's journey were a bit like hell. I mean, I have some kind of splinter in my foot. It's going to keep me company probably the entire way back, but that too is okay. I mean, filming and recording yourself is a trap as well. So yeah, life is always a bit like hell. So for me, finally, a life means, you know, I rather feel something than to not be able to feel the wind anymore, right? I rather suffer actively than to never, you know, enjoy the sound of chirping birds or something, or the twittering. You know, that kind of stuff. But it's also about being a bit careful. Because if you're careless, you're gonna jump into something and you're gonna hit your head, right? So I always made sure that it's at least a bit predictable. And when you go to places like where I went and you dive very deep in this kind of like ceremonial space and you come out of it with a woman by your side, and no matter what you do, she's just there all the time. It's like there's like a fine layer separating your two worlds, and I don't know, somehow she's always somewhere around, although I cannot touch her, not like this, but I have had dreams with her, all kinds of things. I see her, right, while I was still watching porn. I saw her in every woman. You know, she's always there. I see her in little girls. I see her in all kinds of things, and that's so super strange. But it just fills my heart with joy. You know, maybe someday, right? And maybe I'm gonna be an old man. And then it is a bit like what Maul or Maud says in Deception, or Inception. It's like deception. You've been decepted. Inception. What does she say? You know, you're waiting for a train. You know, do you know how it feels like to be half of a whole? Well, some of us feel like this. And then you've got people like Yogananda, who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, who feels quite content in himself and never had the desire to have sex or something. You know, some of us are like this. I'm more the masculine principle, or something like this, right? There I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so finally alive, right? I mean, you've gone through hell. Welcome. I mean, I don't think that a lot of people get here that haven't really suffered. I mean, if you've done your suffering and you awoke to the hard truth, right, that everything we build is just bullshit that nobody needs, but you know, you go with the flow, you live with the times, and you stay away from jelly beanie mayors, right? Because they gonna trick you into voting for them. Okay, so yeah, stay away from bikes. Nobody needs to cycle, just go hiking. Because cycling is just sitting, right? It's just a different form of sitting. I mean, we sit already so much. I mean, what toughened me up to this degree is certainly the amount I've hiked. And I've been walking in bare feet, right? That's all I can say at this stage. Now I'm just gonna do a recording of the water for meditation, you know. Is darkness in Scotland? It may be. And so we shall see where this journey is gonna go.